Today we are talking about abilities and the best abilities you should be using within the game. We know abilities run Madden 23, and let's just get this out of the way. If you have someone and you want to use 0 AP ability on them, like, you should go for it, but not at the expense. Not at the expense of an actual good ability, okay? So, I'm not saying use these players necessarily, but you can use something like mutt.gg. They have an abilities list out there. If you click on it, you can see who gets that ability at a discount. And normally we want to find things at a discount, but it really depends on the situation that you have for building your team. Get it? Got it? Good. So someone like brand new Joe Thomas here is like a perfectly ideal candidate, right? Perfect. And he's ideal for what we want. So offensive line, I personally truly believe threat detector is so important in this game. Not necessarily because like, oh, I gotta block the blitz, but because it's lets you sort of know what they're doing on defense on 3rd and 4th down. It's kind of like Omaha-ish, right? And that's really helpful. We know if someone's dropping 8 in coverage, we know if someone's blitzing 6, all those sorts of things. So I have that is on my list. And the other offensive line one I have is edge protector. Now, secure protector is slightly different. It works anywhere on the offensive line, but a lot of the good edge rushing abilities really only work on the edge. So that's why edge protector for 1 AP is so good. Now there's a few guys who get edge protector for 1. There's only 2 people who get threat detector for 1 right now. One is Joe Thomas, one is Randall McDaniel. And you can actually see Joe Thomas gets it in slot 3, so we can have both. That's why he's kind of like an ideal candidate there. So we really like that. The next thing that we really like on people is short in elite. Now there's only 2 players. There would be Steve Smith and Cooper Kupp. I don't have Cooper Kupp, but there's only 2 players that get that. It is probably the most important receiver ability you can have up at this point in time. Now, again, this is going to be based on your scheme. If you happen to throw a lot of outside balls, then deep out elite or something is also pretty good. And again, Randy Moss gets that for 0. But short and elite, it's worth having like 1 somewhere out there, right? It's worth having 1 for sure. And you can get it for 1 on certain players, and it really does drive the valueness of a receiver. Now, when we go to running back, there's actually nothing here that I really love for an ability. You know, we had Barry Sanders evasive for 0, which is cool, but evasive isn't really what it's cracked up to be this year. So if you look at some of these guys, they get a running back gets short in the lead or backfield mismatch, and we could probably should throw grab and go on them for 0. We might as well. But like the rest of these don't do a ton, and I don't feel like any of them are necessary. This is one of the first years I felt like I don't actually need them. Now, as we get later on in the year, and maybe we get a running back with like tank for 1 or something like that, that could be a thing, because most people hit stick to tackle. They truly do. And that means that you can't be tackled with a hit stick. So that's super important in that case there. And when it comes to quarterback, again, this is going to be your own opinion on how much AP and who you should get for quarterback. But you need a passing ability. So either pass lead elite or set feet lead, right? Either one of those is very good to have. It's what you want, right? I think you should have 1 of the 2. 100%. The ball is so slow otherwise. Now you're going to say, CC, what about Fearless? Fearless seems like it's necessary on quarterbacks. I don't think it's necessary. It could be necessary based on the quarterback you're using. So again, I want you to go to mutt.gg, and you can find quarterbacks on there, right? And you can, pick which one you want to use. So example here, we'll use old school Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts was an old card. So what we see here is sense pressure, paranoid. If you have a sense pressure paranoid quarterback, you might need to use Fearless. You might need to use it, okay? If you decide to use the new Michael Vick or someone along those lines, you'll see Sense Pressure as ideal, which means that he's going to be slightly better when it comes to that. So you can look here at Sense Pressure and you can find ideal, average, oblivious, right? And you can find certain quarterbacks that have this stuff and you won't need Fearless on them. There's not a lot of these. Sense Pressure Oblivious is really rare. Ideal's fairly normal, right? There's quite a few, right? There's quite a few guys here. So I don't think that you need to use Fearless in that situation there. It is a good ability, but again, we've also gotten away from using a lot of under pressure abilities. Again, why? It's a very cat and mouse game when you're building your team with abilities within this game. Right now, most people are using Fearless, so people stopped using under pressure, right? It's the same way that a lot of people are using Edge Protector, so people stop using Edge Threat. However, I still think that it's good to have one of those things, because if you happen to play someone who doesn't have an Edge Protector or something, it's going to make your life a whole lot easier in winning that game. So it's worth putting a few AP out there for that risk to have an easy win sometimes, and then sort of operate with 9 AP in those other games, because you're still doing the same thing. Because by you using only 3 AP on your defensive for pressure, which we'll get into here in a second, and them having to use 2 or 3 AP on their offensive line to counter you, that's actually a really even balance. So I'm okay with it. So that's why we say just use 1 pass rusher currently with all ability out. But offensively, that's what I like. This is what I use. Again, if you need to use a wide receiver apprentice, a slot apprentice, any of that sort of stuff, by all means, you go for it, right? That's really based on your scheme. I think these other ones, scheme irrelevant, you should probably have them out here. You really should. If you're looking to build the best team in Madden or any other game, make sure you head over to MMOEXP.com. Avoid the pack, save some racks, pick up your MUT, MT, and many other games. Use code CC 5% off. Let's be great. And then we get to defense, and defense is obviously it's defense is cheaper. Defense is cheaper. So we were just talking pass rush. Let's go over pass rush, okay? There are 3 players in the game right now that you can get Edge Threat and Double or Nothing for a total of 3. And we want to have one of these players out here. Reggie White, Aaron Donald, and Dorrance Armstrong's Thanksgiving game card, okay? Which we talked about on the No Money Spent series. Having 3 AP and allocating 3 AP on defense to this is worth it to us. It is worth it to us. Because again, if you play someone who doesn't have 2 edge protectors, you're going to get the advantage. If they have 2 edge protectors, again, they're either going to be paying 2 or 3 AP for that as well. And that's really just going to cancel itself out. So there's no risk involved there. Okay, that's a no risk play when we get to things. The other thing that I really think you should have is Pick Artist or Tip Drill. Now again, as Pick Artist is becoming more of a thing at Discounted, it makes sense, right? So if you're going to spend 1 AP and it's a Pick Artist or Tip Drill, pick Pick Artist. If you have 0 AP Tip Drill or 1 AP Pick Artist, that's going to depend on your ability points that you have available. So it's like the only thing I personally think using out here. Some people will talk about using route KOs on your corners and all that. Again, if you play a lot of man coverage, maybe that's probably the way you should go. If you're playing a lot of zone coverage like I do, and you think, man, what about these zone KOs? They work, but they don't work great sometimes. So I would only be using zone KOs when you can get them at a really massive discount. Basically 1. I think it's worth paying 1 for. Maybe 2, maybe, but no more than that. So Steve Atwater, perfect example. Pick Artist 0, Deep In Zone KO 1. This is a great combination for 1 AP here. So that's the way we want to really, really go with right there. Again, if you can get 0 AP pass rushers otherwise, I think that's a really good thing. Having a Lawrence Taylor with Pick Artist for 0 on the line because of some of those bobbled balls at the line, it's great. If you don't have that and you can get an unpredictable for 0, that's going to be a really good player. because someone like Jason Taylor, he's not going to go crazy with unpredictable normally. What I find more so is a 0 AP unpredictable, or an unpredictable ability does really well against play action. The good thing with that is that play action is normally a counter that people use to edge threats and double or nothings. So by having those on the field together, you're kind of going against what they really, really want to do and need to do. So it makes a lot of sense. It's like, so for me, you can kind of switch up. If I'm playing a runner, obviously I'm going to have like the fridge in there, inside stuff for one, right? We use that just for necessary purposes. Sometimes it helps and sometimes it doesn't help. And not a lot of people really run the ball. So if I'm playing someone who's really more of a passer, I'm going to put Jason Taylor, slot him inside, Lawrence Taylor on the outside. Again, they both have unpredictable, so that we can kind of get that going there. There's not a lot else that we truly need on defense. That's why you've seen so many of my videos where I don't have max AP on my defense. I did set up max AP now, right before this, because we just made all these changes. So I was like, okay, let me just maximize it completely, because it would kind of look a little silly. But from the abilities I'm using here, again, I think these are all like what you should have. If you want to use a crusher, I would recommend using it on your user. So Derwin James is, is a 0 AP guy. I think he may be the only one still. Or Sammy Knight, I think, actually gets it. He's a little too slow to be a user. But again, I have no problem for 1 AP Cam Chancellor using it on my user. Again, I'm going to be blowing up the running back, and you're going to get most of your hits with that. So that's why we use it. I think it is a very good ability. I think that using it for as cheap as possible is great. And if the more you have of it, the better, right? Because the chances of your user tackling someone every play, what are we going to say? 20% of the time you get that's you. But if you have it on your safeties, and maybe even like corners, like the more you can have, the better. But again, at a cost, you want to make sure that you're not using it too much, because each and every play, only one person is going to really be activating with it. You can only have one person activating with Crusher each play. So if you have 4 or 5 AP designated towards Crusher, 4 of that is going to be doing nothing each and every play, but you could cause that key fumble there. Defensive rally for 0, again, it's fine. Do I really think it matters all that much? I don't know, man. I'll be honest. I've never been like, man, I'm glad I had that extra pass rush point. But for no cost, I would take it. Otherwise, I wouldn't use it at cost. I also really hate that linebackers need lurker. They do need lurker. I don't like it. I don't like that that's a thing. It's a good ability, and if you can get it for 1 and you really, really want to use a linebacker, cool. But I think we're going to trend towards 0 AP lurker for linebackers, so I wouldn't worry and go out of my way currently. I just feel like they're gonna end up trending in that direction with the way that all these abilities keep getting discounted over and over and over. So again, have some pick artists out there, because you want to make sure that you're able to catch those passes. Again, it's like kind of with tip drill, you want to make sure that in those situations where someone makes a mistake, you can make them pay for it. That's the biggest thing that we're trying to do here, right? Interceptions, fumbles, sacks. Those are the biggest plays we can make on defense. And that's what we need to focus on. Again, with defense, we have 10 other players on the field, and we need to make sure that those other 10 players besides our user are as good as possible. That's why I always focus on defense much more than offense. That's why I spread stuff out. I would much rather have all these other players with a random ability on there, and maybe they make a random play, instead of being like, I'm going to load up deep route KO and mid route KO on one corner. Again, that's great. That one corner may lock up, but what if I throw the ball to one of the other 4 people on the field? Again, you're wasting, that's a 4-5 AP waste in the single play. We want to have the ability to have everyone out there doing as much as possible and making the biggest impacts. Yes, a drop is good, but a drop on an interception or on a pass breakup is not as good at all as a sack, an interception, or fumble. Okay, I'm holding my fingers up. I'm counting with you. So this is the ideal way to do it. Again, It's based on your scheme. I run 4 DBs. Maybe you run 3. So then you don't need all that sort of stuff. Maybe you have 2 linebackers, sub linebackers. Again, figure this all out based on this, but try to get on defense as many people out there as you can with either chip drill, pick artist is a great place to start. 1 maximum pass rusher, and then fill in the rest based on your scheme. Fill in the rest based on your scheme. That's all I can say. Super important. This helps me win so many games. I can't tell you anything more than that. It helps me win. We have a lot of luxury with AP because of these discounts. But we also win a lot because we have set things up this way so that when mistakes happen, the ball goes back to us. Same thing on offense. Our entire plan is to negate the pass rush and then get the advantage from identifier, threat detector, and all that. I like identifier. I need it for me. I'm not going to say like you should have it, but again, for me, the way I play, it's super necessary, but I don't think it's necessary for everyone else because they don't. If you see my guide, you would understand. So that's it for my ability talk right here. Again, if there's something else you really love, like put it down in the comment section. I know that the runners, like really heavy runners, they love their nasty streaks and stuff like that. But again, for me, I haven't used it. And if I haven't used something, how can I tell you it's good? I can't and I won't. I'm not just going to take word of mouth. No, that's not what we do here. We actually try everything out and see how it works. And if I haven't tried it, I ain't going to tell you about it. Love you guys. I'm out. Peace.